Members of the House, please be seated.
Will the House come to order? Mr. Clerk.
Aloha and good afternoon. Today's invocation will be delivered by Representative Nicole E. Lowen. Will the members who wish to participate please rise?
Aloha. So this past Monday, we hit a grim milestone of more than 500,000 lives lost, U.S. Citizens' lives, due to this pandemic. And so there are 525,600 minutes in a year, so that number is roughly equivalent to 1 COVID death per minute for an entire year. So today, let's just take a quick moment of silence for all those whose lives were lost and their families and friends and communities that have been affected. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Mr. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Aquino, Ms. Bellotti, Mr. Bronco, Mr. Cullen, Ms. DeCoit, Ms. Eli, Mr. Ganadin, Mr. Gates, Ms. Har,
Present.
Mr. Hashem,
He's
Mr.
here.
Hashimoto, Mr. Holt, Ms. Ichiyama, Mr. Iligan, Mr. Johansson, Ms. Capella, Ms. Kitagawa, Mr. Bertrand Kobayashi, Mr. Dale Kobayashi, Mr. Kong, Mr. Lopresti,
He's here.
Ms. Lowen, Ms. Luke, Ms. Martin, Mr. Matayoshi, Ms. Matsumoto, Mr. McDermott, Mr. McKelvey, Mr. Mizuno,
Here.
sorry, Ms. Morikawa, Ms. Nakamura, Mr. Nakashima, Mr. Nishimoto, Mr. Ono,
Excused.
Ms. Okimoto, Mr. Onishi, Ms. Peruso, Mr. Quinlan, Mr. Saiki, Mr. Sayama, Mr. Takayama, Mr. Takumi, Mr. Tam, Mr. Tarnas, Mr. Todd, Mr. Tokioka, Mr. Ward, Ms. Wildberger, Mr. Woodson, Mr. Yamane, Mr. Yamashita, and Mr. Speaker.
Here.
Mr. Speaker, 50 members are present, 1 is excused.
Thank you. Reading of the journal, Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, may this matter be deferred.
So ordered. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Are there any messages from the governor?
Mr. Speaker, there are none.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Are there any Senate communications?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we are in receipt of a communication transmitting the noted Senate bill having passed third reading in the Senate.
Thank you. Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the Senate bill laying on the clerk's desk pass first reading by title.
Thank you. Representative Matsumoto.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that the Senate bill laying on the clerk's desk pass first reading by title. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed say no. The motion is carried. We're on item number 5, reports of standing committees. Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend the rules of the House in order to consider certain House bills for third reading by consent calendar.
Thank you. Representative Matsumoto.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed say no. The motion is carried. Representative Bellotti.
Mr. Speaker, I move to adopt Standing Committee Report number 645 through 663 as listed on pages 1 through 6, and that the accompanying House bills pass third reading.
Thank you, Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Thank you very much. First page, Standing Committee Report number 645, discussion. Page 2, 646. 647. Yes, Representative McDermott,
Speaker, I stand in support with a brief comment.
please proceed in support.
Anything we can do to support agriculture is appreciated. Particularly, the pandemic has shown us the fragility of our supply chain, and thus the issue of food security has risen to the forefront once again. This is a good measure. It stabilizes the industry. We need to do more, but this is a great start. And thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Ward.
Speaker, at the appropriate time, could we go back to 646?
Yes, we can, after we're done with 647. Further discussion on 647. If not, we're on 646. Representative Ward.
Thank you, Speaker. I just want to note my reservation and a brief comment that this is well intended. It gives used appliances from those who have state funds and welfare recipients to give them to other people who are in need. The difficulty with this, Mr. Speaker, is the implementation, as indicated in the hearing. How are you going to actually find out what appliances are working and who you're going to pass them to? The second thing is that the nanny state is now bordering into the technological reason. But my biggest concern is that, well, if we can do this, why don't we actually have probably where rich people can give, or they must give their appliances to the poor. I just don't see the nexus between one standing as one who is on welfare having to give your technological vehicle or advanced appliances to other people. As the saying goes, Mr. Speaker, a good job is the best welfare check, and it's not a used computer or a used television set or a radio. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion, we are on Stand Committee Report number 646. Representative
Mr. Speaker.
McKelvey.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I wasn't going to speak on this bill, but it's third reading, and given the previous comments, I respectfully disagree. This is actually a really great bill. And
Representative, I'm assuming you're in support.
Obviously.
In support. Okay, please continue.
Yes. It's a really great bill, and the bill has moved along. The stakeholders from both government and the private sector, the tech sector, weighed in heavily, and amendments were made as such. And as a result, it protects the state. It allows for donations to happen, and it creates standards that are realistic for the tech industry. And so I hope as this bill moves forward, it gets consideration, even to be in the majority package. It's a really good bill, and I thank the author for introducing it, and I hope for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Further discussion, Stand Committee Report number 646.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Representative Presti.
Thank you. Reservations with comments.
So ordered. Please proceed with reservations.
I certainly applaud the intent of this bill. I think it's a great idea, but the implementation seems to be overbroad, and I don't think that the House should pass it out in this state and in the form that it is. I think we could have done a better job before we sent it over, and I hope that the issues that have been brought up before get addressed if it makes it to the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Further discussion, members? Yes, Representative Cullen.
Mr. Speaker, strong support.
Strong support, please
Yes,
proceed.
May I please have the words adopted from the representative from Lahaina as my own.
So ordered.
Permission to enter written comments.
Also, so ordered.
And I just wanted to thank the 2 committee chairs and 3 committee chairs for allowing this great idea to come to fruition. And that, as we've seen with this pandemic, the issues that have come with electronic devices for our students in our classrooms, and to provide more students in our communities with the ability to distance learn and to have the technology available. I think this is that next step towards that direction. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Okay, further discussion, members? If not, we already completed 647. We're on 648, discussion. 649, discussion. Yes, Representative McDermott.
Reservations.
So ordered. Further discussion? If not, thank you very much. We're going to be on top of page 3, members. Stand for report number 650, discussion. 651, 652, 653, Representative Ward.
652 with reservations and a brief comment, please.
Okay, let's finish 653. We'll go back to 652 in a second. Any discussion on 653? Seeing none, Representative Ward, stand for report number 652.
Thank you, Speaker. I have 3 reasons for my reservation.
Please proceed.
First, it grows centralized government. This transfers the HHSC control of our hospitals into now the Department of Health. I'm not convinced that it's going to be able to do it cheaper, even though we've invested millions and millions and millions of dollars to make HHSC successful. I can't say it was successful, but I can't say the Department of Health is going to make it successful, given what it did, even with the COVID and the testing and the contact tracing. Government doesn't show that it runs things very efficiently. So it's hard to believe that they're going to be able to do a better job. And I would just like to see how we follow up with this, particularly in terms of the fiscal and the governance ability. And I know it's about Leahi Hospital and getting those on board for the elderly and the long-term care, but there's no reason that HHSC cannot do that. The other good thing about HHSC that we're taking away is that it was very grassroots, county, home rule specific. I think going backwards from that to more centralized government is a step backwards, and hopefully if this bill passes that it's going to work, but I have my doubts. For those reasons, I have serious reservations. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Any further discussion? Stand time report number 652. Representative Belatti.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and strong support.
Strong support.
Brief
Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the chairs who've worked on this bill. This is a bill that helps us to begin to restructure government so that government can work better for us. It also will strengthen our behavioral health care system statewide. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Representative. Further discussion? Members?
Mr. Speaker.
Representative Luke.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to, in support, I would like to thank the current health chair. This issue has been very controversial in the past, and in trying to get Oahu region to be decoupled from HHSC, because as you know, Oahu region, unlike the other county hospitals, it's not a complete hospital function. It is pretty much a long-term care facility. And for HHSC to support a long-term care facility, which is not generating any revenues, ended up hurting some of the potential expansion and support for the neighbor island hospitals. So because the Oahu region hospitals pretty much just does Medicaid, patients that no private hospitals are willing to take, this is something that we need to do because we have to fund them anyway. And this allows Department of Health the flexibility to use some of the unused beds for homeless triage and other things as well. The reason why I wanted to speak up today is because this is something that we have tried to do in the past and many times failed. And I wanted to just acknowledge the health chair because for some reason this year there was no opposition, which was shocking, whereas in the past it has been super controversial. So I don't know what it is about him that we were able to get this done, but I know even you, Vice Speaker, we tried and it was super controversial, and the Honoka'a representative tried and then they wanted to lynch him as well. So I'm just very impressed. So I just wanted to thank the health chair, and I tried to. And can I strike my comment about lynching? That's very inappropriate. Very
Yes,
inappropriate.
Mr. Clerk, can we strike the comment of lynching?
My apologies, just strike that whole sentence. But yeah, they wanted to crucify. Maybe crucify is not good either. But they wanted to threaten the Honoka'a representative to such means. So I am just saying that I'm just very impressed. I can't just say enough how impressed I am. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative. Any further discussion? We're on stand time report number 652. Okay, thank you, members. We already covered stand time report number 653. Stand time report number 654, discussion. 655, discussion. 656, 657, 658, 659, 660, 661, 662.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes, Representative Lopresti.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No vote and comments?
Please proceed in opposition.
Thank you. My main problem, well, actually, forgive me, ruling on a potential conflict of interest.
Please state your potential conflict, Representative.
My spouse is involved in production of drama in theater.
No conflict, and this ruling will stand for the entire session.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill is meant to support the performing arts, which I totally applaud and would get behind. The problem, as outlined in my understanding by the Attorney General's office, is that basically the law is setting it up so that if the state of Hawaii sponsors a performance of the Ninth Symphony of Beethoven, the state of Hawaii now owns the rights to the Ninth Symphony of Beethoven. If the state of Hawaii sponsors a performance of Guys and Dolls, the state of Hawaii now somehow owns the rights to that recording, Guys and Dolls. It's completely in conflict with performing arts law and respecting intellectual property rights of the artists. And that's the problem with the bill, and therefore I'm a no.
Thank you, Representative. Any further discussion? Members? Stand camera report number 662. Yes, Representative Blanco.
Mr. Speaker, in strong support and
Strong
comments.
support. Please proceed.
Aloha na hoa hanalima ma kapikala. The chairman of the Hawaii State Foundation on the Culture and the Arts, Pandi Yokuchi, once said, "Art is as important as education because art is education." Therein lies the spirit, I believe, and the intent of the 1% of the Arts Fund and why it's so important to Hawaii, especially for our Native Hawaiian arts community. Much of our Native Hawaiian arts, like our language, is displayed through oral and dance performance, which is not currently promoted through the special fund. How can we expect the indigenous arts of these islands to be perpetuated as a cornerstone of art education when they're not prioritized? In the Hawaii SFCA 2019-2023 Strategic Priorities Report, of their 12 strategic priorities, only one is dedicated to Native Hawaiians. Under the single objective, 3 strategies are listed: strengthen relationships with Native Hawaiians, regularly liaise with the representative of Native Hawaiians, and to encourage, support, acknowledge Native Hawaiian culture. They report nothing on the need to perpetuate traditional and customary practices, while also supporting the self-determination and advancement of Native Hawaiian cultural practitioners and artists. There's nothing on the need to secure Native Hawaiian culture, arts, and intellectual property against misappropriation and exploitation. The FCA list of strategies is something that you would find when beginning a relationship or vastly needing to improve an existing relationship. This should not be the strategic priorities of a state agency that was funded nearly 50 years ago. The inclusion of the performing arts to their 1% of the Arts Fund would give halau hula and other oli and mele practitioners the opportunity for their work to be included. The arts preserve what fact-based historical records can't, and they tell us how it felt to exist in a particular time and place. I can't think of anything more fitting for these records of Hawaii than the opportunity to hear and view performances from our leaders in the performing arts, including others from our Pacific Islander communities. I realize that there is only so much funding for the arts, but that funding should include Native Hawaiian arts and performing arts. The arts should be inclusive, the arts should be ever evolving, and the arts should always be perpetuated. Mahalo.
Thank you, Representative. Any further discussion? Yes, Representative Holt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In support?
In support, please proceed.
May I have the words of the previous speaker inserted in the journals if they're my own?
So ordered. Thank you very much. Further discussion, members? Yes, Representative Capella.
No vote, Mr. Speaker.
So ordered. Thank you, Representative. Yes, Representative Peruso.
I had previously submitted a green slip for a no vote, and I'd like to change that to a WR.
Yes, WR for Peruso. So ordered. Thank you, Representative. Yes, Representative Ganadin.
Same request.
So ordered. Thank you, Representative. Any further discussion, members? Yes, Representative Gates.
Mr. Speaker, in strong support.
Strong support. Please proceed.
Just to clarify what the previous speaker said regarding copyright infringement, this version of the bill, this HD, is a recommendation from the AG's office, taking into account the copyright issues. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. Further discussion, members, still on stand camera report number 662. If not, thank you very much. Stand camera report number 663, discussion.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Representative Lopresti.
No vote, please, and comments.
In opposition, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My main issue with this bill is, in one of the hearings, Iolani Palace came and testified they don't need this. They can't use it. It's general obligation bonds. If the palace roof needs fixing, that's the responsibility of DLNR, not money that should be stripped out of the arts fund to fix the roof. So when people that the bill is supposed to support come and say we don't need the bill, then I'm comfortable voting no. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Any further discussion still on stand comment report number 663? Representative Capella.
No vote with a brief comment.
So ordered. Please proceed in opposition.
There is a small organization, arts organization in my district that would be incredibly impacted by this bill. When we take money away from the state Foundation for Culture and the Arts, when we take money away from the arts, the organizations that suffer the most are the small ones in rural communities and on neighbor islands. We need to make sure that we're increasing access to the arts, especially arts and education, and not stripping it away in a time of need. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Further discussion, Representative Holt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and strong support.
Strong support. Please proceed.
I would just like to note that the State Foundation on Culture of Arts has had an unencumbered balance of $9 million for the last multiple years. So I don't think that anybody is going to be losing any programs. I'd also like to commend the introducer as well as the chair of the Committee on Culture and Arts and Finance for looking at different ways to fund, these very historical, important, museums in our state. So in strong support. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Further discussion? Still on stand comment report number 663. Representative Gates.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and strong support.
Strong support. Please proceed.
We all know that desperate times calls for creative measures to be taken. This bill is just that. As we know, COVID has been impacting Iolani as well as Bishop Museum, which are both state entities, and this will provide much needed funding to support the repair and maintenance, which the GEO bonds are able to be used for, which is the Special Works of Art Fund. This bill is passed in hopes that we can prevent some catastrophic failures of infrastructure at both Iolani and Bishop Museum, which are state treasures for Hawaii. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Further discussion? Yes, Representative Ganaden.
No vote.
So ordered. Any further discussion? Stand comment report number 663. If not, let's go to Representative Morikawa for the vote.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the measures before us, all majority members vote aye with the exception of the following. On page 5, STANCOM report number 662, HB number 760 HD1, the following representative votes no. Capella. On page 6, STANCOM report number 663, HB number 777 HD1, the following representatives vote no. Ganaden, Capella, and Peruso. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative Matsumoto?
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, I'll come back to you in a second. Yes, Representative Matsumoto?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the measures before us, all minority members vote aye.
Thank you very much. And from our remote participants, did we count your votes? Representative Lopresti?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Please note me as a no vote for STANCOM report number 662 and STANCOM report 663 since I'm not able to submit a green slip.
So ordered. Thank you. Representative Har, did we get you? You're good. Okay, members, have all votes been cast? Did we miss any votes? Appearing that all votes have been cast, said House bills pass third reading. Mr. Clerk, are there any resolutions for action?
Mr. Speaker, there are no resolutions for action. May all others be referred to print.
So ordered. Thank you. Members, are there any announcements?
Mr. Speaker?
Yes, Representative Har, followed by Representative Matsumoto.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to defer to Representative Matsumoto first.
Representative Matsumoto?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to announce that it's that time of year again for the Women's Legislative Caucus Easter Basket Drive. For those of you who are new members, every year we have an Easter Basket Drive to donate hygiene items or household items to women and children in need. This year we are donating to 4 different organizations: the Domestic Violence Action Center, the Institute for Human Services, Parents and Children Together, and the Salvation Army. And this is going to be on March 31st, we'll also be selecting an Easter bunny and an Easter chick that you can be taking pictures with. Instead of doing it down in the entryway, we're going to be doing it up in the rotunda by the Father Damien statue, so it can be out in open air and socially distanced to take photos. So it's a great, it's a really great thing that we do for the community, and I think this year it's more important than ever. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative Har.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if I may address you and the body for 1 minute, I would appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and colleagues, I wanted to address an incident that occurred on Monday, February the 22nd. As I'm sure you've all heard by now, I was arrested for suspicion of driving under the influence. I wanted this opportunity to explain to you what exactly happened that evening and to apologize to this body. It's important for all of you to know, I have been sick. I've been ill for several weeks now. I've been battling a respiratory illness and have been on prescription medication. I did work late that night. I've been working late on several projects in my private sector job. And after working late that night, I made the decision to have a beer with dinner. While I didn't realize it at that time, it's obvious that that decision, coupled with my medication and my long work hours, was something that I will regret for the rest of my life. Mr. Speaker, as a freshman, I was always taught by our predecessors, our elder statesmen, that regardless of differences, political, personal, professional, or philosophical, above all, the institution comes first. The House of Representatives is an institution which we all have the privilege of serving. Mr. Speaker, I want to deeply apologize to you, the members of this body, for any embarrassment and shame I caused to you, my colleagues, and the institution. Thank you to the members who have reached out to me with your thoughts, your prayers, and your kind words of support. I remain fully committed to regaining your trust and confidence as a member of the House of Representatives, the legislature, and your colleagues. Thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Representative Har. Thank you very much. Any further announcements, members? If not, Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I move that this House stand adjourned until 12 o'clock noon, Thursday, March 4th.
Thank you very much. Representative Matsumoto.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Thank you very much. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed saying no. The motion is carried. The House stands adjourned until 12 noon, Thursday, March 4th.